What's up? It's Potato Kingdom, and today we're doing something I haven't done before. My first movie review, and we're reviewing The Meg. I just finished watching The Meg, and, well, The Meg 2 specifically, not the original Meg. The original Meg I've already watched, and I had a huge high praise for it, which is why I wanted to see the second Meg. And I roped one of my friends in, and we both had the same thing going into this. We were like, oh, it's gonna be a dumb, crazy movie that's probably gonna be bad, but we're gonna enjoy it because it has fun. Guess what? We were lied to ourselves. It wasn't fun to watch. The Meg 2 was boring, which is the worst type of bad movie, because it took an hour and 30 minutes for anything unique or cool that happened. That's right, they turned a movie with megalodons in it into something boring that I literally wanted to, sleep after watching. The Meg 2 was just so flawed that I literally felt like I needed, an energy drink or something afterwards to have to watch it. Let me break down this movie scene by scene, because, first of all, I do like the end part. The last 30 minutes of the movie, because it's like an hour, 2 hour long movie. I was gonna say an hour and 59 minutes, but it's just basically 2 hours. But yeah, it's a 2 hour long movie, and the first hour and 30 minutes are just slowly placed methodical, rescue scene from under the depths. Where in the first movie, they did have a rescue scene too, because Meg 1 I also really like, which is why I feel so bad when I watched this one, and I didn't like it at all, except for the end part. The last 30 minutes of this movie, gorgeous, beautiful, mwah, chef's kiss, 10 out of 10, couldn't recommend it more. But the first part of the movie, 0 out of 10, would never watch it. So what is wrong with this movie? Well, it's this beginning part. Like I said, the rescue scene takes up a majority of the movie. The majority of the cast being stranded underwater and having to get up above water takes up so much of the movie. And sure, there are Megs in it, when they're underwater and stuff. But it's not, it's really boring, and most of the time they're not that big of a threat. In fact, the characters die to, these amphibious, creatures, dinosaur creatures. So there's three main villains. First of all, the movie has 4 megalodons because, we had to double the last movie. Second, there is a giant kraken. And third, there's these amphibious dinosaur creatures that are basically the size of, a German Shepherd, I would say, is about how I would describe their size. They're about that size. And those things I hate the most in this movie because they go from being super weak, one of the main characters kills them with a shovel, but an elite squad of 12 soldiers failed to kill one of them. It's so dumb how they go from basically immortal to literally some of the weakest things ever, and it's so flip-flop. And remember, most of this stuff only happens at the end of the movie. Near the beginning of the film, they have these exoskeleton suits, which when they're stranded from their subs and have to escape the bottom of the ocean, they're in these exoskeleton suits. And they show at the beginning, oh, these exoskeleton suits, they can literally punch through concrete, an entire block of concrete they punch through. And they punch these things with them. And those things just walked it off. They were, swimming around, and they punched them, and it's oh, no, we didn't feel a thing. And I was like, how are these creatures so weak and so strong at the same time? And it's so inconsistent. But, what I'm telling you right now is, the beginning part of the movie is just so boring. I hate it. I literally felt out of energy at the end of the movie. You know when you go to a movie and you feel good, you feel like you've been have energy, and you're like, oh, I had a great time, it was enjoyable, and it was you feel good afterwards. I just felt so tired afterwards. I felt like I needed to watch a movie after that, or just lay down and nap after that. It was just so wrong. And this is, I feel, the first time I've actually had a really boring movie do it to me. But what's worse, what I think hurts me the most, is it's only the first hour and 30. The last 30 minutes, there's on a little island, and all the sharks are attacking the people, and there's the dinosaurs on land, and then there's the kraken, and everything's going crazy, and everyone's doing stuff. And it's most of that is good. The only part I have to complain is when they're on the island, one of the guys is do I have to cut that word because I'm not sure YouTube's gonna let me say it. One of the dudes said, oh, hold up, I'll make this bing bang explodey thingamajigger. I don't know if I can say the B word, but we're gonna roll with it. But it's the size of a thermos. And it's dude, these are megalodons and a kraken. What are you going to do with it? And so, he got grabbed by the kraken and he had it in his hand. I was like, oh, he's going to throw it in its mouth. And then he stabs it on one of the tentacles and then it explodes and he's swimming away. And it's supposed to, movie's oh, the kraken's dead. And I was like, no, it's not. The thing's huge. and you just had an explosion that was the size of a hand grenade go off. Like, that thing's not gonna do anything. And whoo, check it out, the Kraken's still alive. Oh no, it grabbed him again, and then one of the Megalodons ate it, and boom, the Kraken's dead. That's it. That's the whole plot with that Kraken. Spend 15 to 20 minutes, or like not really, 10 minutes, I think, 15 to 10 minutes on building this thing for it to do literally nothing and not affect the movie. And that scene right there is perfectly describes this whole movie. Is just a bunch of stuff with no payoffs. Like, in the beginning of the movie, there's like, oh, the rescue sub that we were going to use to save the people once their subs got stranded was sabotaged. How could that be? And it's like, one person must be a spy. And it's like, oh, well, we know who the spy is. It's this lady. Do you know how I knew immediately? It's because 3 characters on the main, like, oil rig, like, base were shown. That we've had 3 main characters still up there. And so it has to be one of those 3 characters, because the spy is always a character we've seen before and have decent screen time. And she's the only one that isn't from the first movie, and the other 2 people clearly can't be the villains because they were from the first movie. And so it's like, oh, it's obviously her. And they spend way too long on that. Like, this whole movie, I feel you could have cut out 45 minutes of it, and it probably would have been more enjoyable as, like, an hour and 15 to, like, 30-minute movie. Like, you literally, 45 minutes to 30 minutes of this movie could have been chopped out, and it would have been good. But holy smokes, a 2-hour-long movie, and it felt every minute of it. Every minute of this movie drags on for way too long. And it's not fun. I hate that the most. Most of the movie isn't fun. It's boring. And that's what I hate. I hate a boring movie. Boring movies kill me. I don't know why they chose to make it so boring and methodical. And it's like it's trying to be a dumb movie while trying to play it smart. They're trying to be like, oh, this is a smart turn. Oh, you weren't expecting this or this. And it's like, no. That was the most basic plot twist ever. Like, don't even know why you thought that was a good plot twist. And every single character in this whole movie is straight up the dumbest character ever. I don't know why, but they're all so stupid. It's just like unbelievably dumb. Like, okay, so when they first get stranded underwater, they're like, they have to walk to like this underwater base thing that the villains have set up. And I think there's about, 6 of them. So there's about 6 of them, I think, underwater. And so they're all together. They're like, oh, we're underwater. We're in a place we don't know where anything's going on. We should stick together. And then the next scene, they're all super spread apart. And it's like, I'm sorry, do you guys want to die? Why aren't you, like, in groups of 2, like, one's turning around, like, constantly, and, like, shifting around, like, being next to each other. So if one of you gets in trouble, the other one can, like, make sure the other one's safe. And it's like, nope, they're just kind of spread apart. And so one dude, he, like, is, like, in the back, and then he's like, guys, look out! And they all turn around, and he's just gone. And they're like, wait, what happened to him? Where is he? And then all you see is his mask float down, and it's like, oh no, he's dead! And it's like, wow. So insane. So, like, I feel so bad for him, except I don't, because he straight up was a moron and was trailing behind everyone. And also, as soon as that happened, one of the dudes was like, okay, we gotta have someone watching our 6. It was like, you watch our 6. And the other person was like, oh, okay. And then the next scene, it's like they're not watching their 6. They're just walking with the rest of them. And not to mention, a scene after that, like, the entire underwater scene I hate the most, which takes up the majority of the movie, by the way, is because every character during the underwater scene is being a moron. They're being so dumb. They were attacked by a bunch of the anthropomorphic dinosaur things underwater. And so, like, they have it on radar. They're like, oh no, they're showing up. Everyone, we gotta make this ship. And one dude's like, we're not gonna make it in time. Everyone, we gotta fight them. And so they turn around to fight them, but instead of all being together in these exosuits and like going side to side so they can like grab each other or like punch them off each other if anything happens, they're all super spread out. By the way, they have spear guns with these exosuits, and so they're all spread out, and then they like fire all the spear guns, and they're all like missing horrifically and like not hitting any of them. And I was like, why are you shooting them super far away? Do you know how a spear gun works? A spear gun has not that much range and penetration power. You have to be like, especially with these things are huge. Like, you're gonna need 10 feet minimum of like distance, and they're shooting them for like 40 feet, and it's like, bro, you're not gonna hit the broadside of the barn, or you're not gonna penetrate their like scales. And of course they didn't, and so all the dudes are trying to get picked up and like grabbed and bitten, and it's like, oh no, oh my gosh, how could this happen? And then one of the dudes pulls out a knife and starts stabbing him and going ham on him, and I'm like, why didn't everyone pull out a knife? Why wasn't everyone told, everyone, you got a knife on your belt, by the way, just quickly pull it out and get ready to grab, like stab him, because if something's gonna hit you, the best thing you're going to do is the spear guns isn't going to do anything. It's going to get thrown out of your hand immediately. It's big, it's bulky. There's no way you could shoot it at point blank. But a knife, you could just go stabby and just start going ham on them. Not to mention, why weren't they just punching them? Like, if they all just went in a circle and, like, started punching them, they could have probably dealt with them. These things punch through concrete. You're telling me you can't punch through this, like, scaly dude's skull? Like, if you have a hydraulic exoskeleton, like, suit of armor, and you're telling me it can't deal with some anthropomorphic things, I'm gonna be annoyed. Another thing, so one of the characters, as soon as I saw those dudes, I was like, okay, everyone be ready to have, like, one hand up, like, to, if something tries to bite your helmet, so you can, like, keep it from biting your helmet and bite your arm. One of the people died because one of the things bit their helmet, and it like cracked it, and then when they were like trying to get in the decompression chamber before it like leaked, and then boom, her head got crushed, and it's like, no, so sad. And I was like, okay, two things. One, why you could have explained the knife thing to everyone, and she could have grabbed the knife and like pried it from herself, because someone else had to save her from the thing like breaking her helmet originally, and it's like you could have like prevented the cracking and stuff. Second, you could have had your arm up, another thing to prevent the cracking. A third thing, why, like, these suits of like exoskeleton thing kind of suck. Like, think about it like this. You would think there is like some risk of accidental like leaking or cracking in like the helmet, because they're like $1 billion tech industry or something. It's like you would think you have some type of thing that in emergencies you could fill the helmet or something with a liquid so it can depressurize itself, and like you don't have to worry about dying. But, you know, it didn't happen. That didn't happen. Nah. She just died. Which, by the way, later in the movie, like, the main character freaking straight up walks underwater without a suit or anything. He just swims underwater because he releases all the air from his body. Like, he pushes it out his nose so, like, blood starts coming out. So it shows that he pushed all the air out. Which is not how that works. It just isn't. But, you know, if you're gonna do that, at least you could try to save her by doing that. Like, I don't know. It's just so many things felt it could have gone right with this movie that they just did wrong. Like, this movie is so dumb, and yet tries to play it so smart and so boring, and it just annoys me. And that was my review. If you want my score, 3 out of 10. The first 7/10 of this movie were garbage, so I gave it 0 out of 7 for that part, but the last, like, 3/10 of the movie were 3 out of 3. Would watch that again. It is so dumb and yet so beautiful. Y'all have a good one.